Western Conference Finals in English. Suns up 3-2 heading to LA for Game 6 tonight. This is familiar territory for the Clippers. I mean, is it me or does it feel like this team is just always facing elimination in the playoffs? Like, even when the series just starts, I feel like they're facing elimination. But the other story in this one, two of the best players in the league still trying to get their first ring. Chris Paul George Costanza, Broussard. Who is under more pressure tonight, CP-3 or PG-13?
Chris Paul, without question. Look, Paul George, ever since Kawhi Leonard went down, Paul George has been playing with house money. Now, he's still a star in his own right. So there are a level of expectations. He will get some criticism when he struggles or doesn't play well. But overall, nobody's going to kill Paul George for losing to the second-seeded Suns, who have a Hall of Famer, an MVP candidate at point guard, an all-star at shooting guard, and a budding star in DeAndre Ayton at center. So Paul George, yeah, he'll get some criticism. Oh, he is what we thought he was, all that stuff. But overall, his stock is not going to fall too much, or if at all, at this point, if they lose this series. Chris Paul, on the other hand, is under immense pressure. For as great as he is and as great as he has been, let's face it, his playoff career and his clutch career or history has been checkered. We all remember 2014 with the meltdown at the end of Game 5 that cost them the Clippers that game against Oklahoma City and Russell Westbrook. We all remember 2015 when they dropped the 3-1 lead to Houston. We all remember 2017 when in Game 7 against Utah, he goes out and shoots 6 for 19. So Chris has this history of giving up, blowing leads, not only in games at times, but in series. If he loses, he's already lost 3 series in his career where his team was leading 2-0. This obviously would be his 4th. John Stockton, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash combined have only lost 2 playoff series where their teams were leading 2-0. Kidd and Nash never did it. John Stockton did it twice. So if CP-3, remember, they were up 2-0 without Chris. And the statistics are saying they were playing better or have played better without Chris this series because they play faster and he slows them down. So if they lose this series, yeah, he's still going to be a Hall of Famer, all that. But this will be a big knock against his legacy.
Yeah, I've always said legacies can't move backwards. Like, by playing more, you shouldn't be able to go back in the pantheon. This, though, would be a close call because it would be validating what has always been the biggest criticism of him. Now, I'm glad Broussard said his performance in the clutch has been checkered rather than it's been bad, because checkered means good and bad. He also, to be fair, won a Game 7 against the Spurs with a buzzer beater. He was obviously fantastic throughout the Nuggets series. He was really good at the end of the Lakers series coming back from the injury. So he's had some, and that's just this year, he's had some really good playoff moments. He was really good in the Rockets Warriors 2018 series to help get them up 3-2 against a seemingly up to that point unbeatable team before he got hurt. But Broussard mentioned blowing the 2-0 leads. He obviously also has the 3-1 lead Broussard mentioned. He and Blake Griffin are the only players in league history to blow 4 2-0 or 3-1 leads. If they lose this, he's now at 5. And also would be at 2 3-1 blown leads, which of a player of his caliber would be the only guy on that list that I can remember, and I think the only guy ever of a Hall of Fame level player. Wilds, the stakes don't get bigger for him. If he wins it, if he wins tonight, or Game 7, but I think the pressure ratchet's even higher for the Game 7, he then all of a sudden, I believe, would be somewhat consensus, top 5, the 5th best point guard ever, remove himself from the best player to never make a finals list, and by the way, probably win the title now that we've seen what's happened to Giannis. If he loses it, And you're like, my God, man. AD went down, Jamal Murray went down, Kawhi went down, you're up 2-0, you're up 3-1, and he still can't make the finals. It does put a different prism on his career. And I think Paul George is on a free roll right now. I think because he played so well in Game 5, people like Paul George, he's validated himself. So I think it's all on Chris Paul Wilds.
Yeah, I don't think this question is necessarily looking for an opinion. I think there's an actual answer, and the guys have told us as much. Because when Rachel asked Chris Paul after the game, like, hey, you've been up 3-1 before, he's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. It was like a very kind of like breaking the construct of the interview, and it showed like, I don't want to talk about it. I do feel some pressure. Meanwhile, the other night, they're like, hey, Paul, you played great. You scored 41 points. He's like, yeah, you know what? If they want to win, they're going to have to work for it. Paul George is playing with pressure-free, Brandon. And in elimination games this year, he's gone for 28, 11, and 7. To me, Paul George has nowhere to go. It's a little bit like a boxing match where like a hurt fighter is a dangerous fighter. Paul George is just in the corner. He's like, well, looks like I got to punch my way out of this one. And I expect him to do it. I think he's going to come out and have no choice to put up big numbers, and I think he's playing pressure-free.
See, here's my take on Paul George. I feel like he already won Wilds. You know, this whole pandemic P, playoff P, it's almost like he overcame it already, right? So for him to be the laughing stock of the NBA the last 9 months and then get in this position and actually excel when Kawhi goes down, I feel like he already won and he's back on track as, you know, he's a star in this league. We were questioning if he was a star. Now CP-3 on the other hand, I agree with Chris and Nick. Like, he's in this category. And I put this list together, and maybe my historians can help me out here and add to what they went through. But this is the category that he's in right now. He's in the category of Malone, Stockton, Ewing, Barkley, Harden, and potentially Melo, if you want to add him to this list as the best players to never get it done. So he has the most pressure, and I'm expecting this dude to step up and be more aggressive than he was last game, an elimination game. Like, you are CP-3. This is your moment. Why are you going to wait for everybody else to get it done? Go out there and just be aggressive and man, show us why you are on that top 5 list of greatest point guards to ever grace the court. So that's how I feel about it, Nick.
And Brandon, that list you made is the exact right one, best players to never win the title. But Malone, Stockton, Barkley, Ewing, and I would add for the old-timers, Elgin Baylor, what all those guys have in common is they at least made the finals. Ewing made 2, Barkley made 1, Stockton and Malone made 2. Like, Elgin made the finals. Chris has never even gotten there, which is why
how do you know? How do you remember this stuff? You didn't talk about it.
I'm never actually going to write the book. I just pretend I'm writing the book. I just pretend. I'm spending too much time playing poker to actually write the book.
Talking about football.
But so like that. But at least they made the finals. Chris hasn't made the finals yet, Jenna. Hopefully he does tonight.
All right.
I'm more impressed with you than Chris. Let's talk about you.
Nick's stuff is far more impressive.
Thanks,
no, let's head back east.
Right.
Where the Bucks might have to win this one without Giannis Antetokounmpo. First things first.